Hello, everyone. In partnership with WYTV7 Christian Broadcaster Network, this is When Men Open Up, a show where we are redefining manhood through transparency. My name is Dominique.
And I'm Dexter.
And the topic for today, we wanted to discuss a good topic that I believe needs to be discussed more among men, but our bias is toward gay men. Where do you think this bias, against gay men really come from?
Man, interesting question, and we titled it, in my brother's killer.
Right.
An emphasis on the biblical account of when Cain killed his brother, and God asked him, where was his brother? He said, well, my brother's keeper, indicating that he was yielding a responsibility to his brother. He was foregoing that responsibility. Mm-hmm. So, we definitely wanted to come at it from that vantage point with, am I my brother's killer? But a lot of these biases, man, I tell you, I really feel like they're ingrained. Mm-hmm. There's as a young man, I can, and only speaking for myself, I know that many people who hear this will probably acknowledge that this was probably a similar experience for them. But, growing up, I was taught that, brothers and men who identified, themselves as being gay, that you were supposed to frown upon them because they were different, right. They didn't carry themselves as men were supposed to carry themselves. And so there was this whole, thing about, they're not really men, and so it became a play on, a lack of masculinity. And so that bias kind of creates from there. You start to look out and identify the differences that exist.
Exactly.
And so rather than approaching the differences as an opportunity to learn, develop a relationship, you look at the differences as a means to cause division. And from that reason, there is no dialogue, no opportunity to get to know one another. Mm-hmm. And I really feel like from a societal standpoint, these biases, once again, are ingrained in us as young men and as boys.
Most definitely. And I do believe that it is learned behavior. One statement that I hear a lot is, I treat everyone the same. Mm-hmm. And I don't necessarily believe in that statement. I think there's a lot of ignorance in that statement. Yeah. There's a lack of awareness in that statement as well. And truth be told, we all have biases towards different groups of people. What's important is for us to become aware of that, become conscious of that, and understand where does that bias really stem from. And I think when we can understand where those biases come from, why do we have those biases towards those different groups of people, I think we can then move forward really understanding what does it really take for me to adjust my behavior to where I'm not displaying this bias toward these people or against these people. But one thing within, when it comes down to men, I believe it is, it is prevalent. Mm-hmm. Some of us are biased towards gay men. Yeah. And I think anything that goes against our understanding of masculinity, there is a form of resistance towards that. And the fact of the matter is, when we do see these guys and we believe or we know that they are gay, we believe that, there's just something wrong with them, and we have this automatic, we struggle with what we see. Yeah. The thing is, what we struggle with is what we see, but we have to also understand that just because you disagree with the way they are living their life doesn't necessarily mean and make it right for you to mistreat them, exclude them, disrespect them, or even feel uncomfortable around them. I really do believe majority of this bias really stems from not just learned behavior, but from simply a misunderstanding. I think we just don't quite understand these people because we are focused too much on what we disagree with. Yes. So now we really switch it for a minute and, you know, just experience, you know, people or the masses really interacting with us in a sense to where they're going based upon what they disagreed with, we will feel and walk with a lot of resistance, and that wouldn't be a good feeling. You get what I'm saying? So it really makes it hard, and it really makes it difficult for us to connect with these people because we are focused so much on what we see and what we disagree with, and we are allowing that to define who that is. So anything we disagree with, sometimes we have a problem with that. And since we are defining that person with that, there's going to be some resistance. But at the end of the day, I do believe that we need to focus on the heart of the individual and not based upon what we see in that individual.
And I think right there that involves the problem, because a lot of times we don't know how to effectively have relationship with people that we don't always know how to agree with. You know, there might be, like you said, a disagreement about a lifestyle. At the end of the day, you still have to respect the person's ability to make a choice. But because that choice is a contradiction to the choices that you make, we lack the ability to meet in the middle. And because we don't know how to meet in the middle, what we do is we end up, you know, creating that division and pretty much ruining a good relationship or the potential of what could be a good friendship on the basis of a disagreement. Once again, it's based upon the things that you see, you know, and so, you know, the optics are always deceiving. You know, at the end of the day, you know, you can, what they say, you can't judge a book by its cover, you know, and, you know, we damn people who are quality people based upon a perception that we've already had. And we haven't taken the time to get to know that person, but we've made a judgment, you know, before we've even said hello based upon the optics. You know, the interesting thing about this conversation, you know, you and I have talked about this on several occasions, you know, off camera or whatnot. Excuse me, I'm dealing with a little cold today, but you know, we've talked about this, and you know, in preparation for this particular subject, you know, I had to confront some realities that, you know, I've really had some strong prejudices in this area, you know, and I shared how I was really forced to address this issue when I was working as a chaplain. You know, for some of you who may not know, there was a time period where I worked as a chaplain, and I had a very staunch you know, prejudice towards, you know, gay men, you know, and I had a patient who was a gay male, and in reality, that was one of the most eye-opening experiences that I've ever had, where, you know, I don't know how y'all feel about this, but I literally, it's almost like I heard the audible voice of God say, I love him too, you know. And that just, you know, that wrecked me from the standpoint of, here I am holding on to this prejudice towards a person who I don't know. And God is saying that, you know, that same thing that you're choosing to push him to the side, I still love him. You know what I'm saying? And in that moment, that really helped kind of break a lot of barriers that I had. But back to what we're really talking about, you know, a lot of this, like I said, is ingrained. It's taught, you know, and we talk about this quite often. A lot of our beliefs aren't beliefs that we had the opportunity to come up with ourselves. They were given to us. And so before I had even came into a good age in my adolescent, teenage years or whatever, I already had this opinion. It wasn't something that I can say I formed for myself, but I can mark occasions in my childhood where I heard people, you know, very adamantly speak towards this subject matter. And what it did was it caused me to say, "Ooh, this is wrong. You know, that's not cool." And so as I was growing up and encountering, you know, gay men, it became a thing like, you know, you're what they said is not cool. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to take the opportunity to get to know you, because I've already determined, based upon what I've heard, that what you're doing is not right. And, you know, and it's unfortunate that, you know, this attitude and behavior is something I carried well into my early adulthood. You know, a mentality that I can't take the time to get to know you based upon something that someone told me was wrong, as opposed to me getting to know the individual and then, you know, figuring out what commonalities we had with one another.
Most definitely. I really do believe that a lot of men have a very boxed in view and understanding of masculinity, which really speaks to the expectation that you was speaking to. And because we have this small boxed in understanding of masculinity, that I think that really influences the expectation that we have. And unfortunately, that's creating a barrier for many of us. I really do believe when it comes down to gay men, with some people, with some men, we just see somebody with a problem. And since we see somebody with a problem, some of us, we even struggle with making a connection because we're automatically going to them as someone with a problem. So when we go with someone with a problem, we're trying to fix them. We're trying to fix them, and we're trying to see, okay, what do I need to do or say in order to change them? And brother, many of us don't. We have to really just take time out to think. You know, if the average person really comes to us, before they even know us, and they're trying to change something to fix us, we're gonna have a problem with that. You get what I'm saying? See, there's a lot of things that we do, whether it's out in the open or behind closed doors, that other people may not agree with. And I just can't imagine, you know, walking around and it's like I have that label walking on me. You know what I'm saying? Everywhere I go walking on me, that's showing that's displayed there. And that's going to really affect the way I just connect with people, how people really look at me. We have to really stop, you know, putting this, we're making them stuck in this mold of our idea of masculinity. And that's really just causing a lot of confusion, a lot of chaos, and a lot of resistance when it comes down to connection.
You know, that's interesting. And you say the word connection. One of the things that I've known, you know, as I've come a little further in adulthood, that, you know, in retrospect, when I look at it, you know, one of the things about even having friends, you know, who may identify as gay, the issue wasn't that a fear of the individual. It was always a fear of the perception of other people. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I'm gonna have to answer for this friend. You know what I'm saying? And because, you know, I didn't have the emotional intelligence to be able to speak to those people, you know, you just overlook the relationship in its entirety. And I'm trying to be as transparent as humanly possible right now. But, you know, like I said, looking back, the weird thing, it was always easier for me to have friendships with maybe women who were gay as opposed to men who were gay. And you know, the truth be told, they're not trying to hit on you, you know what I'm saying? But it was always like that barrier that, you know, well, we ain't gonna have no commonality, but there's always the commonality that we're men, you know, and there's still a shared experience in being men, you know what I'm saying? Even though we have different, we make different choices as far as, you know, our likes and the things that we're interested in, there's always a commonality when you're talking about a human, because we share the human experience. But once again, because I lacked the emotional intelligence, I couldn't get beyond that shallow, you know, superficial thing right there. And it became the center of the reason why we couldn't really create a good friendship.
It's funny you mentioned that, and I got a few things to say when you mentioned all that. Somebody said, you know, with that story you just mentioned, it's almost like the roles reverse. And men kind of get a taste of how some women feel as well when we get around them. Is, you know, some of them hesitate to be quote unquote friendly, to get close and so forth, because that chance that, you know, we may hit on them. And I think it's the idea too that we understand that, okay, we don't feel quote unquote threatened by women, but since a man, you get what I'm saying?
Because we know our nature.
We know our nature.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we know our nature.
Yeah.
And that can almost be convicting as well. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, facts.
I think another thing is we can be friends with men who are gay.
Yeah.
But it cannot just be, it's almost like it's based on convenience. You get what I'm saying? Because there are some men who don't look quote unquote gay.
Yeah.
And then there are some men who appear to be quote unquote gay.
Yeah.
It may be a little easier to be for some men to be friends with those guys who may dress like us, who may talk like us, who may quote unquote act like us. But it may be a little different.
Yeah.
When someone is what we call flamboyant, when someone is appears to be what we say to be more feminine, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The thing is, it has to be equal across the board. And I'm not here to say that, if someone has those biases, I'm not here to say that it's going to be easy in the beginning. It's not, because that stuff takes time. You get what I'm saying? When you have those biases, it really takes time to break that stuff down. You get what I'm saying? When you have a dislike for a group of people, or when you have a deep hatred for a group of people, and especially when it went beforehand, when you wasn't even aware of that, and then you become aware of that, then you have to break down the behaviors, the toxic behaviors that's affecting them, and where is that stemming from, and educating yourself, and so forth and so forth. All that takes time, bro. You get what I'm saying?
It does.
It really does.
I mean, because, here I am, on the doorstep of 40, and realizing that, there's still, for as progressive as I like to think that I am, I still struggle in some of these areas, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And what really brought this home is a conversation that you and I had about, the church's response. As a, someone who's, a licensed minister and a pastor and all of that, we as the church haven't always done the best job in this area. And what I mean is that it's hard to make a genuine connection with somebody when the only thing you can see is on the external, and so, we're not taking the time to really get to know the heart of the person because we're so focused on what we see, and the challenge is that there's a lot of issues that maybe other people are struggling with that are just as prevalent. You just don't see it. And because you don't see it, you assume that it's probably not happening. And so you're not giving that person the type of attention that maybe they need to get. And so we keep getting caught in this, this kind of perpetual loop of, well, I love you, but, I don't like you. You know what I'm saying? And it's weird, like we need to get to the place where we know how to walk that line of acceptance and agreement. And I know that they're synonymous, but they're not one and the same. I can accept you as my brother, even though I don't always agree, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like a lot of times we get bent on the fact that because I don't agree with you, I can't accept you, the person.
Exactly.
And we have to reconcile that difference, because I know a lot of people, a lot of men, a lot of women who've given up on church because the place that they feel like they should get that love from is the place that they often are the most hurt,
Most definitely.
And so, that is a very real challenge that we're going to have to, sit down and figure that out,
Most definitely. And I'm glad you brought that up. I do believe the church can improve in many areas. I do believe the church need to have more conversations around this, because the fact of the matter is many people in this community don't feel welcome.
Fair.
See, there's a difference, and we spoke about this as well. There's a difference between me saying, my brother, you are always welcome inside my home.
Yeah.
You are always welcome inside my home. But there's a difference when you come in my home and you don't feel welcome.
Yeah.
See, saying that you're welcome is not just a word, it's an action, it's a feeling, it's an atmosphere. You get what I'm saying? So I think a lot of churches, they are getting caught up with saying that, you're welcome, But the fact of the matter is, do these people feel welcome? And if they don't, you really need to take time and energy to understand why they don't feel welcome. How are you really addressing these issues? Because I really do believe when these people are coming in, they're feeling beat up.
Yeah.
And we cannot expect people to continue coming to somewhere and they're always getting beat up and they just continue going there. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. I can't expect you to continue coming to my house as many times as I say, man, you're always welcome. But brother, you're not getting a great experience. You get what I'm saying? I remember in high school, matter of fact, it started in middle school, and I remember a lot of guys being so confused and really mistreating and disrespecting this guy. And you know, he did have some what we call feminine ways, and many guys, they treated him as if he had a disease. They didn't want to be around him. But I remember them really mistreating him. And I remember at that age, I was confused as well. But I still didn't understand why he had to go through what he had to go through. You get what I'm saying? I really felt like that was wrong. But a lot of guys really hesitated to be around this brother. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? Because now if I'm around him, everyone else is going to believe that, you know, I'm gay as well, or me and him got something going on and so forth. And we can't have that same energy as well as adults, you know, being so concerned. And the thing is are we just going to have their backs when, are we going to also have their backs in public? You get what I'm saying? Are we going to keep the same energy, you know, behind closed doors or out in public as well? We got to have their back. We got to support them. We got to speak up for them. We cannot be embarrassed around them. But I'm going to keep emphasizing this, that it takes time. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? This is not to beat up the men. It really takes time to educate yourself, have this more understanding, and really understand that, you know what, being honest with yourself, that, you know what, I do feel this way around these guys. I do feel uncomfortable. Yeah. I do feel embarrassed. I do feel I am concerned about what the next man think about me when I'm around this brother. We have to be honest with ourselves so we can address these behaviors and these feelings.
Man, brother, boy, you said it all on that one. And I mean, and that's what it boils down to. I mean, it's hard to admit that you struggle in an area of being able to be accountable to somebody, you know, say, hey, look, man, I want to get to know you, but I struggle in these areas, you know. Yeah. It you know, even saying it right now feels hard to say it, you know, and that's one of the things, like I said, in preparing for this particular topic tonight, you know, it caused me to really assess my own prejudices, you know, my own biases, you know, and I remember, you know, in high school, you know, dealing with my own insecurities, and it became an easy way out to maybe pick on somebody who, you know, might have been effeminate, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, ooh, look at them, you know what I'm saying? As a means of maybe getting the spotlight off of my own stuff, you know what I'm saying? Definitely. And so it becomes almost like you know, you're ganging up on this person, you know what I'm saying? Because you can see, once again, their differences are different from yours, you know? And so we're going to rally around the fact that we're not like this person. You know, it almost makes it, I understand how detrimental and how easy it is, maybe even for like racism. Now, you know, I'm not trying to associate the two, but now it makes me understand how racism is so affluent, you know, because even from this regard, you know, especially in the African American community, you know, while we don't have the control mechanisms that, say, a racist society has, we, even from among our own, begin to alienate those who aren't like us, you know what I'm saying? Definitely. And so they become almost like the black sheep of our community. And so, like I said, you know, it's huge to really acknowledge where you are. You know, at the end of the day, you have to start where you are. You know, and we're talking about how do we make progress in this area. And I'm a firm believer that in order to make progress, you have to first acknowledge that, hey, I'm struggling in this area. and I want to be better in this area, you know. So help me, you know, to be a better, you know, friend to you, you know, is what it really boils down to.
Most definitely. And it really starts with, you know, before we, you know, part of our preparation, you know, we do a lot of research. You know, these things, we have different experiences in different ways. But part of our preparation is we took time out to talk to some brothers in the gay community as well before we even went over this topic, because we have to, you know, we're not experiencing this. You know, we're not experiencing the mistreatment that they're experiencing and so forth. So we got to really hear from them. And I believe that other folks have to do the same thing. You know, take time out to just have a simple conversation with them and really just hear their heart, really understand who they are and so forth. Focus on loving the person, not changing the person. And we have to really understand our language as well. If we really take time out to understand our language, I think we will highlight some toxicity, some toxic ways in our language. So what I mean is when we talk about the brothers in the gay community, we say love, but I support you, but you know, I'll be there for you, but you know, that but is very, 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 there's a strong undertone in that but, you know what I'm saying? And it's based on your convenience. It has some strings attached to it. You get what I'm saying? And it just should be, I love you, you know, period. I support you, period. You know, I got your back, period. I'm going to help you, period. Just period. You get what I'm saying? And we hear this a lot, brother. You know, it's always a but when it comes down to our brothers in the gay community. And I think we have to really catch ourselves when we're saying that, you know, why am I really saying that? And whether you realize it or not, it's going to always get in the way. It's going to always get in the way.
You know, one of the things with that, you know, there's a saying that everything, if you say but, it's almost like you cancel out everything before the but.
It's not genuine.
You know, and one of the things that really, you know, especially now in life, where I am in life over these last, you know, I want to say decade or so, that's really helped me, is really understanding that, you know, a lot of our brothers in this space, you know, as gay men, for the majority of their life, man, they've been isolated and alienated. So, you know, there's a strong sense of rejection, you know, and so, you know, why would I continue to serve as one of the ones who's, you know, rejecting them, you know what I'm saying? Especially as I, you know, started to kind of get a better understanding of my own spiritual walk with God. You know, who am I to reject you? You know, if I say I represent the man Christ, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I can't go on this one man agenda of rejecting you, you know, if I'm recognized by my love walk, you know what I'm saying? He said, you know, they'll know that you're mine, you know what I'm saying, by love, you know what I'm saying? So I can't go on this rejection agenda, you know what I'm saying, at the same time say that, you know, well, this is who I represent, you know. And so at the end of the day, you know, you're going to do a lot more helping if you take the time to just reach out and extend the invitation to really get to know somebody. Because like I said, you know, I think about those times in high school, you know, man, we used to just dog folks out, man. And, you know, and it's, you know, I've seen some of those men now and they seem to be doing well, but, you know, you know, I think about it like, man, you know, I wonder how much damage I did to that person from my own place of ignorance and insecurity.
Most definitely. I appreciate you sharing that as well. Man, we can go in so many different directions with this. We're gonna go there again. We're gonna have a part 2 with this. We'll go at a part 2 with this. We'll share the topic very soon. And there's something else I wanted to really share, and I lost my train of thought. But if you really enjoyed it, please share the video. We really want other people to join in, and we really want, you know, everyone to really extend that conversation, you know, start these conversations in other places, really just take time out. And like I said beforehand, when we first started the video, there's a lot of people that really strongly feel that I treat everyone the exact same way.
Yeah.
And I think that's a problematic statement. I think it sounds good, but the thing is I don't believe it's possible to treat everyone the same way. Yeah. So the fact of the matter is we all have biases toward different groups of people, and it takes time, it takes a lot of work. And it's not always comfortable to, understand what our bias is and to really be honest with ourselves about the biases that we have towards or against different groups of people. So if you enjoyed this video, you thought, other people should view this video, please take time out to share this video. If you have any feedback, continue commenting, inbox us. Give us an email whenmenopenup@gmail.com. And if you have any opportunities, speaking engagement, panel discussions, we do want to participate in that, and we are open for that. So you are more than welcome to email us at whenmenopenup@gmail.com. But do you have anything else you want to share, brother?
No, that's it. And once again, we just want to say thank you all for joining us. We're really endeavoring to have these harder conversations,
most definitely.
But definitely conversations that we know are necessary for the times that we live in. So thank you for all your comments and all your feedback. And as always, we'll definitely try to get back with you as soon as possible.
Most definitely. And in partnership with WYTV7 Christian Broadcasting Network, this is When Men Open Up, a show where we are redefining manhood through transparency. My name is Dominique.
And I'm Dexter.
And we are out. Join us next week. Thank you so much.